Hello everyone, I'm May Tamimova from the Libya Initiative, and I'm here to ask Nedra Cherif a few questions about her recently published report on the Libyan constitution. Nedra is an independent analyst and researcher focusing on political transitions and constitutional reforms in the MENA region since the Arab uprisings. Nedra, why is the Libyan constitution an important topic of discussion today?
Well, with the resumption of the Libyan political dialogue under the auspices of the United Nations, a preliminary agreement has been reached to hold general elections in December 2021. But for these elections to take place, it is essential to set a legal and a constitutional basis that will define the prerogatives, the mandates, and the limits of the new institutions that the Libyan people is about to elect, which is the parliament and the presidency. But this constitutional framework is currently missing in Libya, which is why the topic has lately regained so much attention. And the Libyan stakeholders need to urgently reach an agreement on this point if they want the elections to take place by the agreed deadline.
Why has the making of Libya's constitution taken so long?
Well, it's important to keep in mind that the making of Libya's constitution did not occur in ordinary or peaceful circumstances. The drafting process started as the country was progressively slipping into civil war, and this put increasing pressure on the Constitution Drafting Assembly, the CDA. But the CDA also suffered from its own weaknesses. Its members who were directly elected by the people had very little constitutional experience. They had no clear political vision for the country, and they also came from very different regional and ideological backgrounds. Moreover, a large part of the debates were boycotted by Libya's cultural components, which are the Amazighs, the Tabus, and to some extent the Tuaregs. So reconciling the drafters' diverging views and demands on sometimes very sensitive issues was no easy exercise. The CDA eventually completed its work with the adoption of a final draft in July 2017. But this was after 3 years of work, while the process was initially set to last only for a few months.
Until today, there is still opposition to the draft issued by the CDA in 2017. Why is that?
Well, obviously, no constitution can ever gather unanimous support, and even let the Libyan one, in view of the difficult conditions in which it was produced. The final draft that was issued by the CDA was an attempt to embody the largest possible consensus among the drafters, but also a document that could receive the support of a majority of Libyans. But to do so, the drafters were constrained to make compromises. And this was in order to satisfy sometimes contradicting demands, but also to meet the high expectations that emerged after the 2011 uprising in a country that has suffered from decades of regional marginalization and social discrimination. So in the document, in the final draft, the consensus was often reached by keeping the wording of articles very general, but also by deferring some sensitive issues to the next parliament. And this approach was not really well received by a number of groups who wanted specific issues to be settled once and for all in the draft, such as, for instance, the symbols of the Libyan state or cultural minorities' rights. And today, other groups also reject provisions of the draft, but more for political reasons. For instance, they disagree with the choice of the system of local governance or citizenship rules. But these contested issues now need to be addressed from a political rather than a technical perspective, especially if the CDS draft is to be adopted as Libya's permanent constitution.
Well, many thanks to Nedra Cherif for this insightful take on a crucial topic for the future of Libya. We remind you that more analysis on this is available in her recent paper, Libya's Constitution, Between Conflict and Compromise. You can find it in the link below. Thanks for your attention, and please follow our MEDirections channels.